the black grouse.
My name is Michael Radparvar. I'm from New York. I co-founded a company called Holstee with my brother David and my best friend Fabian Fortmuller. And together we created a company called Holstee. And the purpose of Holstee on a grand scale is about creating a positive impact through good design. Whenever we create something, we take into consideration the whole supply chain, the whole approach, everybody that's involved, from the materials that we use that are taken from the planet, how they're returned to the planet at the end of that lifetime of that product, all the people that are involved, who's involved, how they're treated, how the creation of each product that we make, it impacts their lives. But we try to do all these things without sacrificing two very important things to us: good quality and good design. Good design is more than just what you see when you see a product. It's also how you interact with it. It's how it's made. It's a very broad term, I think. And when you look at it from a holistic sense, you quickly see the importance of when you design the production plan of it, or the supply chain of what goes into a product. I think all those elements need to be really more carefully considered, because at the end of the day, the most powerful way that people can vote for better or worse today is with their dollars. The items that each one of us choose to purchase, they send a signal to someone somewhere saying, do more of this, create more of these things, I approve of what you're doing. And it's a very powerful way to create change, by really taking careful consideration of the things that you're purchasing, asking what's behind them and who's behind them, and what is the impact of your purchase. And it's a very powerful way to create change, by really taking careful consideration of the things that you're purchasing, asking what's behind them and who's behind them, and what is the impact of your purchase. Because we can change very substantial sourcing practices, manufacturing practices, and it's something that we, from early stage, wanted to build into both the way that we create things and the way that we communicate and try and work with our community and discuss with our community to make those things very clear. And even if they're not purchasing things from Holstee, that people always ask what's behind the product and why was it made and how was it made. Everything that we put into our products has a reason and a purpose. And so we started to source other materials and other ways to do that, whether it was a recycled material, a blend of hemp, and organic cotton, which doesn't require pesticides. And that was created a strong foundation for how we make the products that we make. One of the first things that we all did was we got together on the steps of Union Square, and we realized, okay, we're starting something really new. We have an opportunity to redefine a lot of things for us. And before we do anything, let's define, what does success look like? What does a successful life look like for us? And so independently, we all wrote down a lot of statements which turned into the importance of love and relationships, food, travel, meeting people, exploring new ideas. And what came together was this beautiful kind of document that outlined exactly that. If we're doing these things, we know we're living a successful life by our own definition. And there's nothing, funny enough, there's nothing financially related in it. It wasn't what will we have? We realized at the core, those things were not very important for us. It's more about the people we were with and the experiences that we shared with them, what we were making with them. And that became what's now called the Holstee Manifesto. The Holstee Manifesto is a document that defines who we are. It really does influence the decisions that we make on a regular basis, how we want to run our company, how we want to interact with people around us, how we want to live life, essentially. Life really is about the people that you meet and the things that you create with them, and that's why we're here together at the Sandbox event, because that's really where we get to meet so many inspirational people, and we've come away doing so many cool projects with people like that, and that's just what excites us the most. We spend so much time in our work, in our office, and it's such a shame if you have the opportunity to do something that you're really passionate about, but you're just too worried about the obstacles to make that happen. And that was really important for us, to be doing things that we're really passionate about. And I think that it's hard to actually live that type of successful life if you're not able to pursue that. Our inspirations are creating this idea of like creating a positive impact through good design. Simple, functional use of interacting with products. I think that it can be an interesting contrast where, you know, we have a large focus on minimizing our impact and finding ways to minimize impact on the environment, but yet we're creating products. And of course, products inherently, no matter how you make them, they will have an impact. But our goal is really to find ways to take what's existing, challenge the status quo and how they're made, and hopefully just almost through education and through exploration and research and development, and just creative methods, finding ways to either simplify life through those items, or create products that are made in a way that that really is more beneficial all the way through the supply chain. I think that's what gets us really excited. One of my favorite products or projects that we ever did was it was called the Upcycle Tee, where we would ask everyone in our community locally in New York to go through their drawers, their closets, find shirts that they're no longer wearing. And our goal was to bring those back into the public and explore the fact that those shirts that are sitting in our closets, that were sitting unused, have such a powerful story behind them. Those are the ones that have gone with us on amazing trips, that maybe went on a first date with someone, that maybe, you know, had a really incredible experience at a concert, and that story is like now a part of that shirt, and it has this like incredible energy and spirit to it, and it's not to be forgotten, and it has so much more value than maybe just a new shirt that you can pull off a rack. And it's easy to forget that, and like, why do those shirts all of a sudden have no value? Just because, you know, you've worn it so much that you've maybe at some point lost interest in it. And so the whole point of that project was to like kind of reinvigorate the concept of what's sitting in your closet is something that's like very powerful and very interesting. And so we literally just put prints directly over what was on them, and that was it was a very limited run. We had 3 different lines that we put on them. One was everything has a story. Another one said fuck fast fashion, and all the F's had like squares over them. Another one was the story of this shirt is to be continued, and it was all about like kind of like slowing down, taking a moment, exploring what you already have, and maybe understanding the fact that like you don't have to go out and buy new things. Maybe what, you know, the things that you have is just what you need, and it's just like, you know, to kind of like look at it through a new lens. One of the powerful or interesting things that happened with Holstee is, as the manifesto started to like really grow, something unique happened for us. A lot of companies build products first, and then they build their brand. We, by chance, did it the reverse. Our brand got built very strong, quicker than we were building products. How great would it be if like you went onto a website, and before you bought a sweater, you could look through you could press a button and quickly see on a very beautifully designed map like the whole story behind that sweater, where it was sourced, who was impacted by it, what was the cost of the impact to produce that, what was maybe the carbon footprint of that. I think that level of transparency is so important for people who are purchasing things online, because it's really hard to hold someone accountable if they actually don't have an opportunity to even understand or have a way to ask those questions or gain that knowledge. So making that knowledge more readily available, I think, will really help this concept of creating, you know, allowing people to make better decisions at each purchase point. I think that the whole, you know, the economic situation right now has had a very fascinating impact. It's been a mix of a lot of different things happening, and one thing that I think we've noticed is people are they're buying fewer things, but they're buying better quality things, and they're buying things that are more important for them. For example, it's really fascinating how local farms in the US and organic farming the strength of that has grown, even though those things come at a premium for everyone. And that's because people want to get reconnected with those things that are just like a higher quality. And one thing that, something that's very important for us is helping to shift this paradigm from always obsessing about like, what's the best value I can get for my dollar versus like, where can I get the most values from the things that I'm purchasing? and shifting from like always seeking the best value to seeking organizations and people and designers that are making things with the best values. And I think that's something that people are looking for a lot more right now, and it's definitely increasing, especially as more information becomes available, better transparency occurs. It's almost like an unstoppable force, I think, at this point. And the companies that are unwilling to share that information, I think, are going to lose out big time. And I think that's a really important thing, because once you have that knowledge and you still decide that it's something that's important for you, I think you have a lot more respect for that item, and you'll probably you'll use it in like much better ways. And instead of like it gets a little tear and you throw it out, you might actually try to fix it, because you understand what actually all the work and resources that went into it. I think that level of knowledge is super important for everyone to have, and now that we have the technology to do it, I think it's something that like we should all make a priority. There's companies that we look to a lot in terms of like inspiration. For example, Patagonia, in terms of like how they approach transparency and creation of their products. There's a really beautiful design company called Now, N-A-U. I think their design is like super beautiful. And then from like a storytelling aspect, there's a project called the IOU project, which really beautifully links the product that you buy to the actual person who is making it. And you can see that for every product, and it links it very clearly. I think in those three respects, those are three examples of organizations or brands, designers that have really nailed those respective areas of transparency, design, and storytelling. And we're kind of relatively young company, and I know we have a lot to learn, and it's really great to see pioneers in those spaces that are really making things in a very different way, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity for people to learn from them as well. Things like actually paying attention to how much gasoline you put into a car, or like how much energy you use, or how you're not looking to hyper consumption as a means of like fueling the economy, but like actually making purchases that are important for you and of like high quality and caliber will add value in your life. I think there were certain things that came out of their session that were like really beautiful, and even though it came in a very painful way for us, it was really a course correction that I think in many ways had to happen. But I think that from an economic standpoint, I think that if we make like right decisions, we'll like totally be okay. And I think that it's gonna be more of a matter of how people are able to adjust like lifestyles that weren't necessarily healthy for ourselves or the planet. The U.S. does make a very huge impact on the world. Not only because of the amount of resources the U.S. requires as a percentage, but just because it's been in a position where a lot of the ideas and concepts, businesses, practices, products, those things end up in many other places that whether they want them or not. And I think that means that the U.S. has a very strong responsibility to make actually good decisions that are good, both like economically, but also just good with good values, because those values are things that we're exporting as well. It's not just the products. To really ask questions about the things that you're buying, and ask yourself why you're purchasing them, and what is the impact of that purchase? What is the signal that you're sending with that dollar that you're spending? And do you actually want to see that being done more? If you're going and buying a bottle of water, do you want to see like water bottled if you're buying a hamburger at McDonald's, do you want to see like beef and meat and food prepared in that way everywhere? Because that's essentially what you're doing. You're voting for that to happen more.